So our next speaker is Minister Smyth. He is Minister of State for Communications and the Circular Economy. And Minister, thank you very much for joining us here today. It's great that you could take part today. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Percy, and thank you, Martin, for that interesting presentation. So as you said, a couple of months ago, I was appointed to be Minister of State for Circular Economy, and that covers areas like composting and biogas. So I'm honoured to be asked to speak at this, the 20th anniversary, I believe, of CREA, and just want to congratulate you on your staying power. Looking through the agenda, lots of really interesting things there, and I'm looking forward to learning more about compostable plastics, for example, and biogas that are on later on this afternoon. I'll start by saying that we're coming out of this emergency period of the pandemic, where all of government policy was focused on getting through this particular crisis, and we're now moving to a sort of operational stage in the pandemic where it's sort of under management, and we can think about longer term things, and we realize we're still in a climate crisis. So certainly I hope, my colleagues hope, that we can bring in measures that are as effective and that are also supported by the public to deal with the climate crisis in the same way that we did with the pandemic. And part of that is a sort of radical change in the economy from this idea of a linear economy where you dig things up and you build them into something in a factory and you use them and then you dispose of them back into a field, that we move towards a circular economy where waste is regarded as a resource, which is, I guess, central to what we're talking about here today, that things that are considered to be worthless or a substance that something that you would normally just try to get rid of is something that you can treasure and that you can foster and recover something valuable from, that you can keep those resources within your economy. So that's a big change in mindset. To support that, I have a circular economy bill, which is going to be developed over the coming months and will presumably be enacted around Christmas. And there will be a lot of communications to explain the idea of a circular economy to the public, because it's a new concept and it is a cultural shift. It's a cultural shift away from the idea that the greatest thing you can do is buy something that's brand new and throw away whatever you don't need, towards an idea that there's a value in retaining things as well. So this isn't just an Irish idea, or it's not just a Green Party idea or something. It's part of European policy under the European Green New Deal, and that sets out the idea that the climate challenge is also an opportunity, and that circularity should be part of the way that we look at our economy in future. So last year, you'll be aware that we published this waste action plan for a circular economy, which goes into, instead of previous waste action plans that might have focused more on disposal, that we are looking at how we can capture valuable parts or resources within the goods that we would previously have thrown away. We have also been working on something called the Whole of Government Circular Economy Strategy. And this, as it says, will involve all government departments contributing, and will involve a lot of specific and measurable actions, so that we get the metrics that we have to know whether we are achieving with our desire to achieve a circular economy. Earlier this year, I published the general scheme of the circular economy bill. So that's one of the first stages in a bill, is that you get the cabinet to agree what the goals are of the piece of legislation that you're bringing in. So those have been published on gov.ie, and they lay out a number of different objectives that we're going to try and achieve with the circular economy bill. So I invite you to have a look. There is a focus. There is a good deal of reference in the waste action plan for circular economy to dealing with food. Obviously, a lot of food is wasted. And the plan sets out how do we manage to tackle this. And of course, the first action is prevention. It always is. But even with the most prevention that you can possibly do, you still end up with residual food waste. You always will, and we need a way to segregate it. We need a way to have it go through a supply chain, to have it distributed, to have energy and other resources recovered from it. So composting and anaerobic digestion are important parts that are in the Waste Action Plan, and we have an ambition to I suppose, to make more of the potential of food waste resources. And there are a number of specific things in the Waste Action Plan that will help with this. And I'm just going to go into detail on them for a second. The first is that we're going to mandate that there must be an organic waste bin in every household as part of waste collection services. So every waste collector is going to have to collect organic waste. Secondly, we're going to be changing the permit system, and we're going to be working with local authorities to make sure that every householder has access to a sustainable and reliable way of managing their food waste. And I'm also going to work with the Department of Housing on any regulatory changes that are needed in planning and tenancy laws. That's to ensure that apartment dwellers also have that option. They have the necessary brown bins, whatever they need, so that they can segregate their waste as well. I live in an apartment block, and I'm well aware of the challenges of getting people who are who have a shared bin disposal area to put things into the right bins. So the National Waste Collection Permit Office and other brown bin data will be used to investigate how new technology can support that greater usage. So I certainly will be looking at what they do in other countries. Sometimes it's a technological change that's required, and sometimes is also part of it is habit and just cultural shift. So communications will be important too. We will be putting in municipal waste recycling targets as conditions in waste collection permits. I think that's going to be important. We're going to be ensuring that commercial waste management will be operational, and that there will be a priority on enforcement. And we are working to reduce contamination in our recycling bins. The general approach that we're going to take on this is going to be collaborative. We need to make sure that it's not just the government trying to do it, or that it's not just an NGO or an organization like CRAE, but that we have everybody who is involved in waste, from the consumer to the collectors, to the people who are the composters, that everybody involved has an agreed solution to this, that they've all bought into it, they've all been listened to, and that they all feel a sense of ownership over what we're trying to do. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to be carrying out pilot projects. So rather than having a big bang and changing everything in the system at the same time, we are going to try things out to make sure that they work, and these will be genuine tests where if they don't work, we remove them. And also we're setting up a food waste recycling project group. My department will work closely with CRAE, and has done in the past, and with other stakeholders. Really the experience that we gained from the pilot projects, such as rollout of kitchen food waste caddy packs, will make it easier for householders to segregate food waste. And I think it's something that people genuinely want to do. Just a small amount of food waste in your green bin, or even in your residual bin, really fouls everything else and makes it difficult to deal with. It creates smells in your kitchen, and I think people react well to being given the incentive or the infrastructure, or just the little nudge that they need to have some separate place, some separate caddy that they put their food waste into. So to demonstrate that, my department will be funding an initiative that involves the rollout of 300,000 kitchen food waste caddy packs to householders. So there will be a roadshow, there will be awareness campaigns, and that will be done over the coming 2 or 3 years. So I want to really thank the regional waste management planning offices, and also mywaste.ie for helping in the progress of that. So just to wrap up, I just want to say that we really need, what we have here is a large challenge, because we're trying to change completely the way that we did things in the past, and we are trying to make a large cultural shift, and we're trying to do it in a short period of time because we're under pressure. And I really look forward to continuing to work with CRAE in the future and with all of you. And if you have any suggestions for how we should be doing things differently in central government, for new policies or directions or suggestions that you have, I would be very happy to hear from you. And my office is easy to find, and I'd be delighted to acknowledge and to listen to anything that you have to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. That was a great address, and it was great news to hear about the relation of the 300,000 kitchen caddies and liners. And I agree with you completely. Collaboration is the only way to get things done. And over the last few years, we've had a great working relationship with the department in the Food Waste Recycling Group, as well as the Irish Waste Managers Association, the EPA, and the regional authorities, and the My Waste team as well. And that working group has met numerous times, and we definitely have progressed forward the message of trying to recycle food waste in Ireland. So very much like to thank you for your support of your department and your officials over the years. And I do agree with you, collaboration is the only way forward to get things done. I think, Minister, there's a lot of people from Canada listening in, and our members are delighted to hear about the initiatives in the waste policy, a plan around the rollout of brown bins and food waste collection, and the whole initiative to try and encourage food waste to be recycled more. And I'm glad you acknowledged that by recycling food waste, there's less contamination, dry recyclable and residual bin as well. So there's a lot of added benefits, not just for food waste recycling, there's knock-on benefits to your dry recyclables, making that cleaner and easier to recycle as well. So Minister, thanks for agreeing to take a few questions, and I just have one or two questions for you. You mentioned there in your presentation in the waste policy where the intention is to make it mandatory for all householders to have a brown bin or food waste bin for recycling. And do you have any kind of rough timescale when that might be implemented?
So I think it's important that that I don't just impose things by edict and tell all the waste collectors that they have to do this right away, and then not have a structure in place that can help the householders as well to deal with this. So the answer is I will be doing it as quickly as possible, but also in a way that I expect to be successful and feasible. So the waste action plan doesn't include a target date for this, but it will include that, and so very shortly, I guess, is the answer. We'll be doing it. We'll be doing it as quickly as possible, but we'll be doing it in such a way that we don't have to do it twice.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's better to do it correctly and do it right the first time around. And we have a lot of experience we can learn from our colleagues in Canada and other colleagues across Europe as well. Minister, you mentioned there a bit about, I think, commercial waste, and I think in the waste action plan, we've had for a number of years incentivizing charging for householders in Ireland. And for our Canadian colleagues, that's where there is a situation where collectors are encouraged that their pricing structure encourages recycling first, and obviously disposal is more expensive. We don't have that in the commercial sector in Ireland yet, Minister, and I was wondering if you thought that would be useful to have in the commercial sector.
Yeah, I think it needs to come in. And I think what you'll notice is that there's a pattern where often in the past, environmental changes or requirements or regulations apply to consumers but don't apply to commercial bodies. And I think that there needs to be incentivization for this to work. I think incentivization, financial incentives, are something that commercial companies understand and respond to. I think they'll understand that they need to do their part as well. So yes, that is coming in. The circular economy bill that I'll be working on this autumn will have provisions to underline that with legal provisions to make sure that it's effective. But yes, that is what's coming in for commercial operators. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I definitely think over the years we've seen where the commercial sector hasn't been incentivized to recycle food waste, and we have a lot of experience from the household sector, so that'll be a positive development. And just one final question, Minister, and we've kind of talked about it a bit, is over the years there have been various successful PR campaigns led by the department, such as many years ago there was Race Against Waste on TV and radio, and more recently you were involved in the soft plastics recycling campaign. We currently don't or haven't had kind of a national campaign around food waste recycling, and the food waste recycling group is hopefully working towards that, or could possibly have a national PR campaign on TV or radio or social media, as well as providing the kitchen caddies and liner, which are critical. And I was just wondering, have you any idea about that, about a national PR campaign? Will we be having a national PR campaign on food waste sometime soon?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, recently we had a change in waste segregation policy, where if you have soft plastics, you can now put them into the recycling bin, whereas before you were supposed to put them into the residual bin. And I did I made a video about it, and we put out some press releases, and we talked about it and so on. And I did that with the help of mywaste.ie, who sort of provide a communications function on explaining to people. It's like a portal where you go to find out how do you manage your waste, and it's very accessible and nice to read. And I was really surprised by it, because I thought this is quite a technical change, you know, soft plastics versus hard plastics in your bin. But in fact, it was, I remember that morning, it was the most read story on the Irish Times national newspaper website. It got a lot of coverage, a lot of pickup. And then the media responded to the fact that it was getting a lot of attention by giving it more and so on. And I think that that's because a lot of people are quite responsible in the way that they segregate their waste. They're, you know, they've been segregating their soft plastics, their wrap and so on for a long time. They realize that this is something which was a positive for them, a good story. And it was just a really tangible part of their daily life, is segregating things. And a new rule was of interest to them. So the surprise to me was that was of so much interest to the public. And I think that we will have the same interest in you know, rules to do with separating food waste from dry mix recyclables and from residual waste. I think people understand what it's for. Everybody knows that the idea that they instinctively understand that there is energy and that there's bioenergy within food waste, and that it should be recovered, and that it shouldn't be mangled in with everything else that's being disposed of in the kitchen. So I think that it is something that people will respond well to. But I want to go back to mywaste.ie again, because they did so well at the communications, so professional, and so I mean, just the public responded so well to it, that I will be working with them, and I will be working on a communications campaign on composting and food waste in the future, certainly. And if you have any suggestions for me on how on what I should be putting in, or any elements I should be including in that, I'm certainly open to hearing about that. So that's really my answer on that.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I think it's great news to hear that will be happening. And I agree with you completely. There's a huge public appetite now to recycle waste and to recycle it correctly. Now is the time where, you know, looking around recycling of recyclables or food waste, now is the time. There's just a huge appetite now. The agenda over the last year or 2 years has really been raised a lot, and definitely I think the My Waste team, who we've been working with in Cray and the food waste recycling group, is a great vehicle to achieve that national campaign. The team has all the resources, and their name is now well known to the public. So definitely, I think when that campaign happens, I think we'll see a lot of positive developments from householders in Ireland. But it's just simply educating them how to segregate the food waste correctly, and that it gets composted or digested locally in Ireland. And I think there's a lot of positive messages there, and a lot of positive messages for the use of compost and digestate on soil, and trying to sequester carbon in soil. And that's a huge agenda which we haven't really talked about, is carbon sequestration in soil. It's a huge topic and has a lot of contribution in the global climate change agenda. So Minister, thank you very much. It was great having a conversation with you, and thanks for taking time to join us here today. And we'll continue on with the agenda. So Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Percy. Thank you everybody who's here, and I just think that I've got a lot to learn, and I'm going to be going into receive mode now for the rest of the conference. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Minister. Okay.